So moving on to our next session now, I am pleased to welcome our next moderator, Selma Prodovnik, who will be moderating the next hour or so with colleagues from UNIDO. Selma is an internationally awarded serial entrepreneur, keynote speaker, show host, investor, and philanthropist. She is passionate about empowering entrepreneurs and creating a better future. So welcome, Selma. We're very much looking forward to the next hour of conversation. So I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Selma, and I'm more than excited to be moderating today's discussion. We believe very strongly that design is so crucial and important, and we're talking about design and the importance of design for inclusive and sustainable development. This is a UNIDO session, and we will start with Riccardo Savigliano, who is the Agro-Industries and Skills Development Division at UNIDO. And please, Riccardo, if we can have your statement, beginning statement, and then we'll move to an exciting discussion. Looking forward to it. Riccardo, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Salma. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me try to share my screen. Could you confirm that you see it? Is in front of you? Thank you, Salma. So let me thank you for giving me the chance to, let's say, to address few points before we go into the interesting part of the session. I would like also to thank the World Design Organization. It's actually, for us, it's an honor to co-host or to co-organize this session together with them. It's part of a journey that we initiated long ago, and we are now reviving, let's say. So it's a pleasure to be here and celebrate this day, which is extremely relevant to us. UNIDO is, and let me go to the next slide, UNIDO is within the UN family, is the organization mandated to promote industrial development and to try to promote it in an inclusive and sustainable way. So, of course, the industrial design has a key role in whatever we do, and again, we are very happy to be here and celebrate this day together with WIDO. Our partners in projects, you will meet some of them later on. They have very interesting things to say and share. So let me quickly go through my presentation and to present the reason why we are here as a UNIDO. So as I said, we promote inclusive and sustainable industrial development. We call it ISID, and our acronym for which we are promoting our mandate. And actually all our services are around 4 strategic priorities: creating shared prosperity, advancing economic competitiveness, safeguarding the environment, and strengthening knowledge and institution. So we have many different services at UNIDO around those strategic priorities. And let me zoom in a bit more closer to where the industrial, let's say, the industrial design is more relevant here at UNIDO. And let me zoom in to the Director of Digitalization, Technology and Agribusiness. Is actually the directorate where all the team, all the persons you will see today here are involved, and is actually the directorate mainstreaming the 4th industrial revolution at UNIDO. So within that directorate, there are several groups. All of them are trying to promote innovative projects, approaches to try to look into the future of trade, investment, technology, innovation, agribusiness, and food system. So we are trying to really get from the 4th industrial revolution, try to bring the opportunities from the 4th industrial revolution to our member states and our partner countries. So we have several priorities. innovation, digitalization, sustainable investments, modernizing industries, promoting quality infrastructure, entrepreneurship and job creation. And with this, within those priorities, there are in particular, I'm zooming in further, Selma, two groups, which are two divisions. One division is called innovation and digitalization. And this division is where Farrukh is mainly active in, and then you will hear from him later on. That division basically promotes digital transformation and innovation ecosystems. So that division has a very forward-looking objective to actually take, as I said, the opportunities from the fourth industrial revolution and try to promote a smooth transition toward a cyber, physical, industrial system and smarter society. That's a very long-term vision, I would say, more than a strategy. And the other division, looking into the industrial design as a DNA of what we promote, is the agro industries and skills development. So this division is basically focusing on promoting non-food agro value chains, and the purpose of that is to try to give rural populations with sustainable livelihoods. So within that division, we have four main technical areas, one of them being creative industry. In creative industry, within the creative industry, the role of design has a very, very important role. So now I brought you in the journey towards UNIDO, within UNIDO, sorry, down to where the design for creativity and for inclusivity is actually core. So we came to the creative industry. The creative economy, we know, is one of the most rapidly growing sector. It brings, it generates income, it creates a lot of jobs all around the world, and creates a lot of export earnings. So in the last 15 years, there are studies now, with the pandemic, studies have been a little bit impacted. For sure, we will know the real data in few years, probably. I mean, we are still in the pandemic on that. But anyway, in the last 15 years, the creative economy doubled the economic relevance. So it's a sector that is moving very fast. It adapts to basically mega trends very, very quickly and very fast. And UNIDO tries to basically bring the industrial design and the design into the creative industry as one tool for inclusivity, sustainability, but also resilience. There are other elements that we are promoting in the creative industry, all related to the business development, entrepreneurial aspect, but definitely the technical skills and the design are extremely important within the context of the creative economy, creative industry. But creative industry are not only impacting or not only relevant for economic purposes. So when it comes to, and then the purpose of our meeting today, is to talk about design and inclusivity. And design applied in creative industry and creative economy generates inclusive externalities, very, very relevant for us and for the international development. One of them is the preservation of cultural heritages. Let me refer, Selma, to a couple of SDGs. So at least we have also within the UN system at least a couple of references of impact. One is the SDG 12, talking about responsible consumption and production, and the SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities, is where the role of creative industry and the relevance of the importance of safeguarding the world culture heritage and the promotion of local jobs related to local cultural products are actually spelled out. Creative industry in that framework is very key, has a key role. So, and UNIDO always, when talks about creative industry, tries to put at the center of local economy development the cultural heritage. And the design helps us in promoting innovation. So we have at the center of our business the cultural heritage, with innovation promoted by industrial design. So that's the link. So later on you will hear about concrete examples. I hope, I'm sure Giulio, Vinaccia will talk about the great jobs that we have done on image banking, for instance. So creating, trying to help those local community to have a visual identity of their cultural heritage. That's extremely important. So inclusivity, of those inclusivity, those services that creative industries are bringing in terms of inclusivity. So those externalities is definitely the role in bringing rural areas, in giving more even power, more attraction, more incomes, no? to rural areas. And again, a couple of SDGs as a reference. SDG 10 talking about reducing inequalities. And then also, again, the SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities, and the link between cities, peri-urban and urban rural areas. So that link is actually the field where the creative industry plays a key role. So creative industries are very much localized. We are trying at UNIDO to bring, let's say, to expand their markets, to create new markets for those products, and to try to, let's say, internationalize in a way the services from those local products. Last but not least, creative industries play a fundamental role in gender and youth empowerment. Here, again, let me refer to two SDGs, the two main SDGs, SDG 5 on gender equality, and SDG 8 on decent job and economic growth. So when it comes to youth in particular, let's say the design-based sectors are in general job pools, no? What we say, I mean, those are areas where jobs could be created, in particular for youth. There are some European countries where design-based industries are, half of them are represented by half of them by people below 40. So I would be already out of that industrial sector myself. But anyway, just to say, those industrial sectors are attracting youth. Sometimes not creative industries. I mean, those are, let's say, handicraft sectors are not attracting a lot of youth, and we are trying to promote by the youth coming into those creative sectors, creative industries, by adding, as I said before, innovation, business elements, and so on and so forth. Similarly, for women, we have sectors where, it's case of Tunisia, Mr. Vladimir will talk about that, 80% of the artisans are women. So sometimes most of the time informal, and with a little capacity to capture really the added value of their job. We are helping them to make sure that they maybe cluster together, they increase their weight and their power, and they make their business more rewarding. So without overdue, Selma, I give you back the floor. And I think, I'm looking forward to hearing the interesting contributions from the next speakers. Thank you, Selma.
Thank you, Riccardo. This is really interesting to see, especially for our audience that is not has not been related to UNIDO, to really find out how it goes from that very high level that is happening, and then to really go down into the single projects. And we will be showing some great examples today. Thank you, Riccardo, for introducing this. We will now move to Farrukh, Farrukh Alimdjanov, who will tell us more about his work at UNIDO and how his department and his division, which is innovation and digitalization, is working on the different projects. Farrukh, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Selma. Thank you, Riccardo. Once again, congratulations with the International Design Day, and congratulations to WDO in hosting such an incredible, outstanding marathon, which unites a lot of people across the world. Let me just really walk you through a very quick journey of what actually UNIDO is doing inter alia in terms of promoting industrial design for competitiveness and sustainable growth. Just before going through a few examples I wanted to show you a picture which could be familiar to most of you. This is actually a chart which depicts how we add value upon 1 kg of cotton throughout the cotton, textile, and garment value chain. How from 1 kg of cotton we can multiply the final cost when we are achieving the final produce, be it mass production, be it basic made-ups or garment. So we can see that we can increase it by the factor of 8 to 10. But when it comes to in design, when it comes to branding, the cost can grow enormously. I'm just giving modestly here 100 as coefficient, but this factor can grow more than this. This is what we call at UNIDO intangible or intellectual value addition within the, let's say, in this case, cotton, textile, and garment value chain. Now, let me just show you a few examples how we actually do the transformation, how we do the socio-economic transformation, by giving you 2 examples. The first one is Armenia. It is a project which aimed at upgrading 25 companies in garment, textile, and accessory sector. This is middle-income country. That's why we couldn't compete with the big, stronger neighbors of Armenia, which could be more competitive in terms of cost. So we prioritize industrial design to bring it to the higher value-added niche. So we worked a lot with design. At the same time, we built a fashion school, a Space 59, where people can make industrial design, where can they make garments, where they can make the patterns and grade them, also using digital tools. And from this type of produce, within, let's say, 2 years project, we could have come up with this higher value added produce, which was presented at different fairs, at different exhibitions, at different B2Bs. And also during the uneasy COVID time, we could have reoriented these companies to satisfy immediate needs of the Minister of Health to supply the PPEs, not only the simple ones, but also complicated like overalls, like special shoes. And here we also applied the industrial design tools. And as a result, what we came up with within this project, within only 3-year analysis, we could have more than tripled exports of this sector. It's all thanks to this project. And the most, let's say, satisfying impact was that we could have increased employment at the beneficiary enterprises by the factor of 2.5. So we can see 146% growth in jobs created. More or less at a similar approach we followed in Tajikistan when we dealt with handmade and machine carpets. We applied industrial design and digital design tools. We worked with home textiles. We extended our efforts to the textile-related jewelry, and also souvenirs. And the results were also very remarkable. We could have more than doubled employment at these companies by 140%. We doubled exports. And these are just few examples of how we apply industrial design in terms of creating incomes, creating jobs, creating value addition and export, and improving the quality of life in developing countries. I'm sure that the panel will be more or less elaborated more on other examples where we are actually present in terms of industrial design. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Farrukh. Definitely, we are talking here about design in a totally different manner, giving respect to design as a whole process to develop products, services, processes, but creating really the sustainable and inclusive development. And this is what it's all about here at UNIDO at this very special 24 hours marathon on design organized by the World Design Organization. I'm very excited to go now into a discussion. We have 4 panelists that I would kindly ask if you can put your videos on so we can see you. Everybody stays muted until you speak. And to the audience, if you have any questions or comments, please do share them in the chat. And we will try to get back to you by the end or during the discussion, the lively discussion. We are very much looking forward. Now I will go into the panel with Shraddha Srikant, Giulio, Vinaccia, Navruza, Jalilova, and Vladimir Rojanski. And I would like to ask Shraddha to introduce yourself. Please tell us a few words about yourself. Thank you.
Shraddha, you're muted.
You are mute.
Yes, got it. Thank you, Selma. Very good evening to my fellow panelists and all the participants that have joined in for this 24-hour event. My congratulations to putting together such resources and talent together. My name is Shraddha Srikant, and I've been working with UNIDO in India for the implementation of technical cooperation projects for key manufacturing industries aimed at facilitating technology transfer and capacity building and expert hand-holding with talent from across the world so as to be able to boost the export competitiveness and just overall sustainability of different manufacturing industries as prioritized by the government of India. And I will be sharing later today a few examples of what we've done and how design has leveraged efforts to boost competitiveness.
Thank you very much, Shraddha, for being with us from India here today. We are moving to Giulio. Please, the stage is yours. If you can tell us a few words about yourself, in addition to all the awards that you have received.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I am a designer, so it's also my day. So I'm very happy about it. I born like the industrial designer, but later on I was, let's say, being more and more general in my activities. I'm working since 2008 with UNIDO, and we have this fantastic collaboration trying to discover the way to how design can really improve the life of the people. This is the real intention at the end of the story. And we are creating little by little a methodology that each time is a little bit modified and getting better. And so I'm proud to be here with all this fantastic group, and I hope that all the people which watch us will feel of question all the chat, because we are here for talk about design and to see how really design can help the people. Is not only to make nice chairs, is to make the life better. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Much more than just being looking good. It's about what it creates. We move now to Navruza, if you can tell us a few words about yourself.
Hi, Selma. Good day, dear participants. My name is Navruza Jalilova. Today I'm representing the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Tajikistan. And it's just this we are so profoundly grateful to be part of this diverse panel discussion and to take part in today's event and to share our unique experience and partnership with between UNIDO and UNHCR in Tajikistan. But before I zoom into our discussion about Tajikistan experience, I want to just to highlight a few things. So currently, right now, when we are talking, there are 26 million refugees around the world, and 85% of them are living in low-income countries. So when refugees leave their homelands, they carry very little, but what they do bring their skills, knowledge, and cultural heritage. So it's very important to support refugees in preserving their cultural heritage and identity for various reasons. But first and foremost, for the sense of belonging and dignity should be promoted. And over to you, Selma. Looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you very much. And we are now moving to Vladimir Rojanski. And if you can tell us a few words about yourself and your.
Thank you, Selma. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Vladimir. I work for the economic section at the European Union delegation in Tunisia. I'm not a designer, unfortunately, myself, but still I'm in charge of designing and managing cooperation programs and projects in different areas, in particular entrepreneurship, the innovation ecosystem, venture capital. Here we are supporting very much. Also working on financial inclusion, access to finance, and last but not least, the tourism, craft, and heritage sectors in Tunisia. Thank you.
Okay, there's a personal connection. I spent a few years, some part of my youth living in Tunisia, so there's a personal connection coming here. Thank you very much for introducing yourself. As you can see, dear audience, we have very diverse aspects coming in here together from manufacturing, social design, refugees, and tourism, and really showing all these diverse examples. And I would like to go back to you, Shraddha. You said that in terms of manufacturing, how design has that improved? I mean, that is not the first thought you have, manufacturing and design. And if you can go a bit into details or tell us more about your project, your work, and what is it what you do?
I'd be glad to. So I think the example that I'd like to share with the participants today is the work that UNIDO is doing in India for the Indian bicycle industry. The bicycle as a product is such a unique form of non-motorized transport in that it is sustainable, it is economical, and it is healthy. India is the second largest producer of bicycles in the world. We account for almost 10% of bicycles produced worldwide. And the industry is a very localized industry that supports over 4,000 MSMEs. So you're looking at an industry that from the demand and supply point of view is inclusive in its very structure and inclusive in the purpose that it serves. The global bicycle industry is moving towards modern production processes to create different types of bicycles. You have city bikes, mountain bikes, racing bikes that are made out of superior, lighter, improved materials, advanced materials. You're thinking carbon fiber and aluminum alloy, and with a lot of specialized components like gears and derailleurs and disc brakes. And they're all made to look and designed a certain way that attracts a higher premium, a higher value in global markets. Countries worldwide are known for their cycling trends. In India, however, you see that Indian manufacturers have long-standing experience in producing steel bicycles meant mainly for the domestic markets. So you're looking at the standard classic, but standard roadster bicycles and kids bicycles that are of a slightly lower value. So it's, I think, imperative that Indian manufacturers develop and nurture the competence as well as the expertise in imbibing design to be able to shift to this higher value segment. So you're producing bicycles of different types, made of different materials, which puts the spotlight on not just the aesthetic aspect of design, but also the technical aspect of design. And that is what UNIDO has tried to tap into with its project, because the work we've been doing over the past few years with the industry focuses on capacity building programs. So you have technical workshops workshops, hands-on training programs, fellowship training programs in international counterpart institutions, so that key industry representatives and key design and R&D representatives get a hang of what it means to boost the kind of products you're making, the kind of bicycles you're making through technical and aesthetic design. So we've done workshops on focusing on the aspects of distinct product segment specific characteristics that link different product segments to what design targets and design parameters and considerations each product is supposed to have. And this is new to the almost 4,000 MSMEs that are very focused on specific components that they make. But if the larger OEMs have to start making these bigger, better, more beautiful bikes, then the entire value chain needs to be empowered with what that means to me on a functional level in my factory. So we've tried to do that in terms of explaining design trade-offs, in terms of explaining global market trends, in terms of what type of bicycle sells where and why. We've also tried to break it down to a more technical level and train people in the use of modeling softwares and techniques that allow them to do prototyping, that allow them to do testing stimulation, and also then go forward with translating a 2D sketch into a 3D model. And on these lines, we look at taking the theoretical and the training, and you think of a workshop, you're like, okay, I'm listening to somebody tell me what to do. But we also sent people to bicycle academies where they've been trained in hands-on frame building and bicycle assembly from scratch, because it is then that they understand the hierarchy of design. What component comes first, what component comes second, how different things of a particular components of a particular product interact with each other, and how it ultimately affects usability and rider comfort, which in this case for a bicycle is paramount. And you see that we've gone from the theoretical to the practical and one step further to the ecosystem at large. So not only did we try to train industry in what design parameters are important, but we've also tried to teach them about the intellectual property space. So once you have a design, what do you do with it? The registration process, how do I protect my intellectual property? How do I resolve a design dispute? And these are things that are important from a product management and a product sale point of view as well for the industry at large. And that has been the gist of the kind of support that we've tried to give not only to the industry, but also to the nodal R&D center that supports the industry.
Thank you, Shraddha. This is awesome. We also have a bicycle designer in the audience, an Indian, so there might be direct connection. This is exactly what we want to see, is connections happening, networking, connecting, working together as we are all into this to create a better world and a more inclusive and sustainable world. And this is something, Giulio, you have been working strongly on, is on social design and some of the projects. You even received a prestigious design award with the UNIDO, the Compasso d'Oro. Can you tell us more about the projects, current projects that you work on?
Thank you, Selma. I will try to share my video. Let me see my screen. Okay. Let's talk about a little bit about methodology. Did you see? No? Yeah? Okay. Okay. So methodology is something important to approach a project. So basically, normally what we do is we have two phases methodology to approach a project. The first one is like I always say, it's like give an aspirin to someone who is sick. So we need to start with product development process. Is more or less like our lady from India was talking about. So we have we have a not nice project, and the product became attractive and we sell it. But at the same time, to make sustainable the sustainability of the project, we need to work on what? We need to work on the creative ecosystem, or it means we need to boost the local designers to increase their capacity and to make possible that in the future they will be the power of this innovation process. So we always work in these two levels. We don't work only in one level. And clearly, we have many other projects. We are working, for example, with the Syrian refugees in Lebanon, in Jordan. but also in Madagascar, in many, many countries. So each time we try to adapt our methodology, we don't want to reprint the same story, but more or less the concept is we have a product development strategy, and the product development strategy is something that my grandfather told to me. If you want to have something, you need to first to dream it, and after you need to design it, and after do it, produce and sell. This is the story. If you don't have this pizza ready, you will not go anywhere. And how you do that, this is the problem, because you cannot wake up in the morning and do it. So for that, we need to have a lot of elements that can be make the contribution. So from the dream, we need to have ethnographic observation, we need to have interviews, storytelling, understand what is the culture, technical analysis, and to design, we need to have tools to design, because today is not enough to have a pencil. And to produce, we need to have also the production capacity ready, and to deploy and to sell the same. But at the same time, this is the easy part of the story, because this is something that for many years we already exist, product development. But the problem is how we create a creative ecosystem. That is much more complicated, because the actors are much more diffuse. So we have with universities, cultural centers, and sometimes we need to have a public opinion, and we need to have the producer in, and we need to have also the governmental institution with us, because otherwise it's not the case of Vladimir for sure. But sometimes when you arrive, you say, what are you doing here? No, we are designers. So the people say, hey, what is doing a design here for development? So it's important to share this knowledge to all the economy. So where is the creative ecosystem? It's when all these actors can join, understand what we are working, what we are doing. And for that, we arrive to have a creative alliance. So we have design, we have cultural institutions that understood why we are working, trying to boost the creative activities. Okay, this is many. Just to give you an example, Riccardo has talking, for example, about the image bank. Everybody ask to the young designers all over the world, you must be inspired in the local culture. But when you go to the museum, they say, no photos. No, the first reaction is you cannot have, you are not the owner of your own culture. So what we do and what we promote in all over the country that we are working is create image bank, free image bankers, where all the images of the museums, for example, all the images of the database that we have, or maybe we can find, are open and free for everybody. So for example, when we work in Pakistan, that's allow the girls who were working with us to go to have the image at home without going to the museum and without fight with their fathers because they want to go alone. At the same time, we create museum networks, because sometimes, again, the artisan, if we want with the artisan, they don't understand very well. They read the product, the object with their hand. So for example, I remember when we were working in Lebanon, we did a deal with the Beirut National Museum. They have a fantastic collection of jewelry, ancient jewelry. So I say, we can come once a month with the artisan, with the jeweler, to see how it's do the old tradition of definition jewelry. And they say, yes, why not? So one day we decided to create like a network of people, of museums that they were interested to share, because the museum is not only a place where the objects are, it's something dynamic. So this is the reason that we talk with the Bardo Museum in Tunisia and in many others. And we create at the end also this space. We decide, okay, I always say when I teach in the university, today you are in the last day of your lesson, of your classes, and you are still a student. Tomorrow you are an employee. So how we can take all these young creative people that remain on the air when they left the school and putting together to work together. So why not create a design creativity hubs? And this is why we are creating this big map of creativity hubs in many countries. And why? Because creative hubs have a place where all the activities can be realized and where all this young creative can be coached to learn, to grow and become the future of design. And some are places where you have meeting rooms, conference, 3D printers, gallery, all the dream of the young designers. And many countries in developing area, they have any opportunity either to have a good wireless connection. So this is, for example, one of the strategies that we have in UNIDO to make possible that this creative ecosystem can be realized not in 200 years, but in a short time. So this is just to give you more or less an example, and later on I can talk about other things. Thank you, Selma. Let me.
Thank you. Thank you, Giulio, the process and how it works. And it's a great idea to have the images, the local images of the museums, as you said, the own culture. And now moving to Navruza, and maybe exactly that is the point, is how do you take your own culture and create additional value in a new country as a refugee? If you can tell us more about the projects you are working on.
Thank you, Selma. And yes, let me start by sharing that overall number of refugees in Tajikistan is not big if compared to other countries. Just around 6,000 refugees. However, it is the largest number in Central Asia, and 99% of refugees in Tajikistan are originating from the neighboring Afghanistan. So Tajikistan has been hosting refugees for more than decades now and continues to do so, granting them with socioeconomic rights on the same footing with nationals. However, to start and continue, refugees need boosting power and support. And our cooperation with UNIDO was right on time to leverage opportunities and resources, notably in artisan and textile sectors in Tajikistan, to engage refugees, especially refugee women. A unique partnership between UNIDO and UNHCR has helped to identify refugee women, utilize their skills and traditions, and building on these further includes them into UNIDO's industrial development initiatives, and those include umbrella branding, innovative marketing tools, technological cycles and design, skills development and capacity building, and of course, access to local and global markets. And most specifically, UNIDO and UNHCR have jointly contributed to setting up a learning center in the city hosting the largest number of refugees in Tajikistan. And this learning center has become a safe place for vulnerable local women and refugee women and girls, which offer training opportunities to enhance their technical skills on production and market access. So as a result, beneficiaries have raised their productivity and contributed to boosting Tajikistan's artisan and textile sectors. Moreover, UNIDO's interventions to revive Tajikistan artisan and textile sectors have generated sustainable employment with jobs created for both local vulnerable population, women specifically, and refugee girls and women. Over to you, Selma.
Thank you. And it is so important as in the preparation for this discussion, we were talking about adding really value into the country where you come as a refugee and not to be seen in a different perspective. And that's so hugely important, the work you're doing to help create that additional value and better integration in the country where they are. Thank you for that. And I would like to move to Vladimir. You are working in Tunisia, and most of your work is on sustainable tourism, but maybe you can tell us more about yourself, what is the main aspect and project you're working on?
Yeah, sure. So I will go straight to the point because we don't have that much time, but basically, you know that tourism sector is a key pillar of the Tunisian economy. And before COVID crisis, it was up to 15% of GDP. So of course, in terms of economic development, it's a key area to work on. So basically, the current tourism model is very much is going through a number of successive crises for the past 20 years. And we have decided to design and implement this very large program. It's a bit more than 50 million euros over a period of 5 to 6 years. The idea is to work on the diversification of the sector and to make it more resilient, to improve the quality of the products and services, and eventually to increase the revenues of economic stakeholders and create jobs. So basically, we are working on 3 main sectors, which are like sustainable tourism. We have the handicraft and design sector, and this is the project Creative Tunisia. I will tell you more in a few minutes. And then we have this third component on cultural heritage promotion. So the idea is to develop synergies between all those sectors in a view to contributing to inclusive economic development in Tunisia. And overall, the action is very much oriented towards very concrete actions. We are focusing directly on economic stakeholders, on MSMEs. We are trying to work on improving access to markets, financing collaborative initiatives, PPPs. We are working on designing tools for improving access to finance, supporting private investments, and so on. To get back to this component on craft, which is the Creative Tunisia project. It's currently implemented by UNIDO. It's very well implemented. We are very happy with the project team. The idea is to strengthen the craft and design value chains in Tunisia. And I think it's quite an innovative project, also involving very much design. And the link between design and development, I guess, is addressed in a very innovative way in the Creative Tunisia project. As Riccardo mentioned earlier, it's not always easy to involve the youth in the craft sector because the jobs are perceived as difficult, they are not very well paid, it's hard. So design is a way to, so to say, reinvent the sector, to make it more attractive. So, for example, the project team, they are working very much putting together artisan designers to develop new collections of products that are appealing to international buyers. And then the idea is to rapidly increase revenues of the artisan. So typically the project team is constantly looking for new market opportunities for the Tunisian artisan. Certainly, I don't recall Riccardo or Farrukh mentioned that 80% of the artisans in Tunisia are actually women. So this sector is very much related to supporting social inclusion as well, especially in the inner regions of the country. So I could give many examples of how we involve design in the process, but typically Giulio mentioned the creative hubs, which are a combination of co-working spaces, fab labs, maker spaces, in which you have artisans, young designers, and then students who can develop together new collections, new prototypes. Then for the project, we also have students in art and design schools who are trained in product design. And then we are also trying to develop communication campaigns on the Tunisian craft heritage and know-how, and obviously partnerships with European design schools and design trade shows. So design comes in many different ways in the project. Thank you.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Design comes in many different aspects, and this is the beauty of changing the understanding of what design means. It has evolved enormously throughout the years. We have about another 8 to 9 minutes to finish this. Before we go to a final round, I would just ask the audience to please do check our speakers on the profiles on the website of the event. Do contact and reach out to them now in the chat, and try to really use this momentum. These are experts doing amazing projects and would love to connect with you. I will now kindly ask each of you to take just a minute and a half to make a final statement in terms of either the impact that you're making or the next step you would like to see happening with your product. Yes, we have now a full program with all the speakers. There's now you can use, and
sorry,
Shraddha, you are on mute. Yes.
Oh, sorry, we lost you there for a little bit, but yeah, no problem. I think just to wrap up, all the panelists have captured different aspects of how design gets integrated and why it's important. Coming from the examples that I talked about, essentially what we see over the past few years is that the industry has been able to produce, increase the relative share of these high-value bicycles in the whole portfolio of Indian production. And you see that evidenced by national level statistics that see an increase in exports and a relative decrease in imports, which means that the manufacturers are not only able to meet global demand, but they're also recognizing a shift in the urban demand in India, within India. And we see this in an increase in cycling that has happened because of during this whole restriction with the COVID-19 pandemic, with transport systems shut down and so forth. You see people moving towards cycling, and you see that the industry then has to keep up with that shift in consumer sentiment. And I think it's important to realize that aesthetic design is the most prominent, it's the most visual, so it's the most talked about. But when we talk about prototyping, saving fabrication costs with testing simulation, and even designing equipment, tools, and jigs and fixtures that go into production, design is so intertwined in the whole start to finish process. And I think it's important to acknowledge that across contexts.
Thank you, Shraddha. I just like to imagine on one hand how you, by improving design, you're changing the market, and how on the other hand, the market is asking for more improved design and this connection that is happening, as you just mentioned right now. Indeed. Thank you, great statement on that. Thank you. Giulio, just a final statement from your side on where you're heading next.
The next is nobody knows, the life is fun because of that. My work is fantastic because you never know what will happen in the day after. So for sure, what is interesting is understand that design is something else that we are not tailored to dress up to make a nice bicycle. In the case of India, we are creating a new way of use, new habitudes, new way of life. And this is also a big responsibility. It's not only fun. If I think even in design in Italy, the design and fashion sector produce more GDP for the country than the car sector. And everybody say, Ferrari, Fiat, Alfa Romeo, that is a great factories. No, Giorgio Armani produce more GDP, more than Fiat. That is something that the people cannot understand. So maybe this, when you talk about numbers, you discover that the reality of the creativity and design is much bigger than the people believe. And that is my hope, that this will be understood, because for many, many places, not in UNIDO, but in many other places, the people still do not understand the value of the design. And this is something that all institutions, all the designers need to work for, disseminate this real information.
Thank you, Giulio. But yes, we do know that Ferrari was designed such beautifully in terms of design and the looks and the performance. So I wouldn't say it's fashion, but it's in design and in many other aspects that we talk about when we speak about Italy. And you mentioned, Giulio, something about really the changing the lifestyle. And Navruza, if you can just maybe use that as something that is happening really with the beneficiaries of your project, is changing their lifestyle of being a burden to a society to create additional value.
Absolutely. So as a result of our cooperation between UNIDO and UNIDO, refugee women were able to regain their dignity, to reestablish their independence, and to rebuild their lives while they are uprooted from their homelands. And we have reports that show that refugee women and refugees and vulnerable population have less access to livelihood opportunities and less access to financial services for various reasons, including for lack of inclusion and equality. So we must think innovatively and differently to promote diversity and industrialization in a way it engages and facilitates women participation in economies. Solidarity, collective action, and shared responsibilities are essential in this regard. By only collaborating together, we can bring access to technologies and innovation, which are great enablers with potential to engage, educate, and empower young people, especially women, which is absolutely in line with Sustainable Development Goals and which is echoing the spirit of no one should be left behind. It was just great pleasure to be part of this panel. Selma, over to you.
Thank you, Navruza. Yes, definitely. This is what we are heading at. And last statement from Vladimir. I always have to think about how tourism is this combination of keeping the old, the local, what is there, but still make it globally attractive and promote it globally. And this combination is part of this sustainability design that you are working. But please do a final statement from your side.
Absolutely, Selma, you are very right. Just want to say that this Creative Tunisia project, and I want to thank very much the UNIDO team for the success, is making a very strong case that supporting clusters, value chains in the handicraft sector, in the design sector, and creative industries at large is a very good way to create jobs for women, for vulnerable population, and to strengthen their economic development. So I just hope that there will be more projects of this kind in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to the audience. Thank you to the amazing panelists and speakers, Riccardo, Farrukh, Shraddha, Giulio, Navruza, and Vladimir. Thank you to the organizers and everybody around that has made this possible. We believe design is creating a better world. Thank you and we're moving back to Natalie.
Thank you very much, Selma. And thank you to Farrukh, Riccardo, and all of our panelists for joining us for an additional and profound approach to diversity and design in this panel. I also want to take a moment to say a special thank you to the UNIDO team who was behind the scenes as well and made this possible for us today. So thank you to everybody who was involved in this session.